going to talk about the fervent mode of art. So this is the third of a series of 4 videos about um, the horizon of contemporary art. And fervor is the mode of art that is most valorized as art in the present time. Say the majority of the art in the art world, like the world of contemporary art, is in this mode, though increasingly that's less the case. Uh, it was especially the case, I would say, at the end of the 20th century and really until the past 10 years, but it's still kind of the case, mostly. Um, and uh, so just to jump right to it, the three main categories uh, pertaining to fervent art are outrage, expression, and aristocracy. And this is an um, especially stark contrast with the cathartic mode of art, which has much more to do with rendering and truth, um, which characterizes the world of fine art before there was really like an art world and before there was or had been an avant-garde. Um, and that also I think still characterizes most of the culture industry. Um, but so I'll just gloss these three categories briefly. So um, outrage, which could include the term intervention also, um, uh, refers to a way of doing art that um, interferes with the smooth functioning of the supposedly not officially aesthetic society, or at least the aspect of society that isn't designated as aesthetic. And so that there's a real Duchampian moment here, obviously, um, and Duchamp is certainly the founder of this mode of art, um, where uh, one is interfering with, say, the critical discourse around art or the economic functioning of the art world, and its relation to other aspects of the economy and society, or just politicizing art at all, um, and and the outrage component is usually that there is the 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 effect that it's meant to have is not so much like, oh wow, this really moves me, or wow, I'm so captivated by this, but it's meant to have a kind of combative response, where uh, a lot of people, even at the highest levels, people are saying this isn't art, this doesn't count, you've gone too far, and um, and um, and that doesn't need, critique has become a big part of that, um, but it doesn't have to be critique necessarily. It could also just be formal invention that is so radical that it goes against um, what is sort of academically considered to be correct form in art. And And modernism is an interesting case because it's a real hybrid of, excuse me, of the outrage mode and the cathartic mode, though I would say it's actually more in the cathartic mode. Um, so that's outrage. Expression has something to do with basically from the side of the artist having the sense that you're giving birth to something and there being a sacredness to that, even if what you're giving birth to is evil. So there's this um, refusal of conventional morality and of, I guess, like safety. There's this kind of acephalic, anarchic quality. Again, this is kind of similar to the idea of expressing a truth, but it's more dangerous than that. And like the artist doesn't really know what it is that they are working towards or giving a voice to. Um, and there's a real mark of evil in this that is not in the other modes of art. Um, so outrage, expression, and then aristocracy is that I don't think that this type of art really exists without a sense of it being elevated, without a kind of, I guess, like arrogance, um, or at least a sense of nobility or superiority of some kind. Those are all words that sound like they're critical of it, and I think there is something. I do have a critique of that in a way because it's not always spoken. Like this is kind of an underlying. This aspect is often masked, but it's like there's a sense that convention sees things one way, and the people who are following that are lower somehow. They don't see things that I, the artist, sees, whether they're political truths or um, not necessarily political, but a lot of times political. Um, but also maybe just that I have just a more vigorous sense of aesthetics, and people other people are, it's all stale or they're uncultivated. It can kind of be classist or anti-classist. So those are those are the three categories of this mode. Maybe I'll talk more about each one or something.